Okay, so now we mute our sound. Although Bill is going to be doing some Christmas songs, and you may sing along on your mute, and you don't have to worry if you're, in the keys or whatever. Just enjoy. Bill, would you have a joy song for us or two?
Well, I thought I'd start with "It Came Upon a Midnight Clear" because everybody kind of
Okay, love it.
We have other requests. I'm willing to be flexible. It came upon a midnight clear, that glorious song of old, from angels bending near the earth to touch their harps of gold. Peace on the earth, goodwill to men, from heaven's all gracious King. The world in solemn stillness lay to hear the angels sing. Still through the cloven skies they come, with peaceful wings unfurled, and still their heavenly music floats o'er all the weary world. Above its sad and lonely plains they bend on hovering wing, and ever o'er its babble sound the blessed angels sing. For lo, the days are hastening on, by prophet bards foretold, when with the ever circling years comes round the age of gold, when peace shall over all the earth its ancient splendors fade, and the whole world sings back the song which now the angels sing. Okay. Barbara, I can't hear you.
So I am unmuting myself, but Pat needs to mute, and so does Hank.
I was muted.
Well, you were. There you go. And Hank, you need to mute before you start singing. Pardon me?
I understand. I understand.
But he's still not muted.
But you're not. Okay, well, you can't sing very loud if you sing. Okay. All right, here we go. Oh my gosh, I have here 30 years ago. Is that possible, David McNair, that you came to our church 30 years ago and you served as spiritual leader 1997 to 2004? Oh my goodness. And we are so honored to have you here this morning. We're going to be on mute. Well, and then David's going to go ahead and light the Christ candle and take over the service. Love you. Okay, bye-bye.
Well, the Christ candle is already lit over my shoulder back there. There's a red next to a red poinsettia. And as we know, that flame is just a symbol for the Christ flame that burns in our hearts. It's always there. And if you just get upset or uptight or frightened or worried, you can just shut your eyes and visualize that little flame in your heart and go, oh yeah, I'm a child of God. It's going to be okay. I'll get through it. And we want to remember that this flame is in each one of us, in our hearts. And Bill, would you sing Surely the Presence?
Sure, here we go. I'm kind of winging it this morning because I'm going by request. So Surely the Presence, here we go. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this this place. I can feel his mighty power and his grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the Lord is in this place. Surely the presence of the light is in this place. I can feel her mighty power and her grace. I can hear the brush of angels' wings. I see glory on each face. Surely the presence of the light is in this place. Okay. You want the Lord's Prayer? Okay, here we go. Our Father and Mother, who art in heaven, hallowed be thy name. Thy kingdom come, thy will be done on earth as it is in heaven. Give us this day our daily bread, and forgive us our debt as we forgive our debtors, and leave us not in temptation, but deliver us from error. For thine is the kingdom and the power and the glory forever.
Thank you, Bill.
Good.
And I'm going to skip the mission statement. You all know who you are. You're all regulars, and skip the 5 basic ideas of unity. I have in mind to do a talk on that, so maybe next time I come, we'll get into those in depth. And I'm going to skip the daily word too, because I have a song to sing at the end, and we don't want to keep everybody too over time. So I'm just going to go right into the talk today. At the beginning of October, many of the ministers and licensed teachers in the West Central region of Unity, that's Clear Lake and part of Nevada, Hawaii, Northern California to Bakersfield, we all met in Santa Cruz, and it was at a nunnery, which was interesting to me. And it was a very basic, no frills kind of place. And you got to sleep with Jesus hanging on the cross above your bed. And it was right on the beach. And the nuns were wonderful. And they cooked all the meals. You didn't have to go anywhere. And you could sit outside and the waves are crashing. It was wonderful. Really great people. And the new head of Unity Worldwide Ministries was there from Unity Village, and his name is Shad Groveland. Never heard of the name Shad before. And he is young, whip smart, and doesn't mess around. He just tells it like it is, like, whoa. And it was very refreshing. And incidentally, if there's any board members or future board members here today, it's customary for the church to pay the tuition for your spiritual leader to go to these things in every October. And it's important because there's always somebody from Unity Village there talking about what's going on in Unity. There's continuing education, which is important. And then there's the networking, which is really important, to be with people who know we're doing the same thing you're doing. Now, when I got home from that event, I was lying in bed and I was remembering Ministers Teachers Conference from years and years ago. And at one point in this conference, a minister and his music director had slipped the little half-page lyrics to this sing-along song inside the programs, and they prearranged it. So after we all gathered after lunch, all of a sudden, the minister and the music director marched in playing guitars, singing at the top of their lungs and said, "Come on, everybody, sing along." And we all got on this rousing rendition of this song. And after the event was over, I went up to the guy and I said, "God, your song is just wonderful. I want to steal it." And he goes, "Would you like the guitar chords?" And I went, "Yeah." And he wrote them down for me. And we talked a bit. He was just a great person. And I finally decided I could trust him. And I said, "You're just amazing. Your song is amazing, but I have a little problem. Your last name," as it was written on the lyric sheet, "your last name is Deer Feeder." And I said, "If you ever lived in the country and you had a garden, the deer come and they'll eat off all the fruit that they can get. They'll decimate the vegetables, and then they'll have the flowers for dessert. You know, if you come home and Bambi's in your garden, it's not cute." And he said, "Oh, that's for my Aunt Agnes." What? And he said, "When I was a very troubled teenager, and she took me in for 2 years, and she just loved me right where I was. And she saved my sanity and probably saved my life. And on her 80th birthday, she took me aside and she said, 'You lived here and you know that I love to grow gladiolus. And every year I buy a few more. And I've been growing them in the same spot for 50 years. And every year the deer come and they eat over half of the gladiolus. And I get so upset and mad at the deer.' And she said, 3 years ago, I realized that my job in life was not to grow gladiolus. My job in life was to feed the deer." And so, you know what happened? I wasn't upset anymore. I was calm. I went, okay, I'm feeding the deer. And then the deer stopped coming. For 3 years, they haven't come and eaten any flowers. And then the guy tells me, he said, "So after Aunt Agnes died, I legally changed my last name to Deer Feeder to honor her." This is a whopper of a metaphysical story. And there's just some amazing truth here. Now remember, Unity's co-founder Charles Fillmore said, "What you resist persists. What you resist persists." It's like you're trying to push something away. What does it do? It pushes back. You push harder, it pushes you back so hard it knocks you on your butt. And what Aunt Agnes did was she accepted what was so in her life, the reality of what is, and she stopped fighting it and she stopped feeling sorry for herself. And so now she was mentally at peace with something she'd been upset with for years and years and years. And then in some sort of cosmic alignment, the deer stopped coming. And even if they were to come back, she had reframed it. So it was no longer running her life. She was at peace. She was free. She was free. Imagine 50 years of being upset. And then, whoop, it's gone. It wasn't triggering her anymore. She would have been a fine Buddhist. When I was in college, I took a class called Eastern Thought. And the professor said, Buddhism has no dogma, but if it did, the first point of it would be that all life is suffering. All life is suffering. He said, the Buddha said, it is only when we accept that we're going to suffer that we can then get free of it. He said, if we can't accept our suffering, we burn up inside, we feel sorry for ourselves, we have a great old pity party all the time, and then we tell everyone who listen about how sad our life is. And man, that is so true. I spent, and this is embarrassing, 50 years of my life telling anyone who'd listen what a jerk my father was. And even after the man had been dead, I was still letting him run my life. It's just, I wasted so much time, so much energy on this. It stunted my growth. It's crazy, you know. Yeah, he was a jerk. Okay, get over it and move on, you know. Guy's dead. What are you holding on to? And that's why Aunt Agnes is so relevant, not only for our personal lives, but for these troubled times. There are so many fears assaulting us. For the last 3 years, COVID searches. My God, we could die. Gas prices spiking up. Inflation. Food just going off the roof. Insurrection in the streets. Families mad at each other. And the media on all sides, left, right, up, down, in the middle, bombarding us with these fears 24/7. If you pull out your phone, breaking news, you know, experts say things could get really terrible. What? And that beautiful flowers of our thoughts and our emotions are being eaten alive by the bugs and worms of the fear and pain that are relentlessly shoved down our throats. And even if we're successful in avoiding a lot of the media trauma, we've all got that one family member and that one friend who calls us and says, didn't you hear? You know, I have a good friend who a couple of times a day forwards me some story of gloom and doom. And I got to ask him to stop. You know, Fillmore said we should be aware of world events and what's going on around us. But he was also clear over and over and over again, don't wallow in the mud of pig thoughts. Don't get stuck there. You know what's going on. Don't cross the freeway in the middle of traffic, you know, on foot. But don't get stuck there. Well, there's some physics that are going on here. Back in Santa Cruz, Shad Groveland, the new head of Unity Worldwide Ministries, was originally a techie. He was in charge of all of the sound engineering and all of the audio visual for MGM Grand's 29 resorts and casinos worldwide. Imagine how many shows are going on all the time at these 29 resorts and casinos. He was the top dog, had to make sure it all ran okay. Now, he was talking to us about churches, but he was using this analogy. He said, in theater, there's front of house and back of house. Front of house is what we see on the stage. We're sitting in the audience and we see the actors and the musicians on stage. Front of house. Back of house is what's going on behind the curtains, all the support, the technical equipment, the staffing, the costume, the prop people, everything that's making it all happening to support the people on stage. Now, I was in the restaurant business, and a lot of restaurants use the same terminology. Front of house is the dining room. Back of house is the kitchen, prep areas, dishwashers, storage. Now, you could have the most elegant dining room in the world, art on the walls, beautiful flowers, fine rugs on the floor, beautiful china, the best silverware, incredible view out the windows, a wonderful waiter. But if the back of the house isn't together and the food comes out bad, it negates that whole experience. So when we look at this concept, front of house, back of house, metaphysically, back of house is our thoughts and our emotions. What's going on inside our head? Front of house is what we do out here in the world, our actions. So when we allow ourselves to succumb to the barrage of negativity dumped on us by media or family or friends, what we serve up in our outward life is a crappy meal, a lousy product. If we let fear fill up our back of house, our front of house is going to be a low-class production. You know, fear, worry, anxiety about our own lives or the world situation is toxic. And every time we fall for it and hang on to it, it's as if we were sipping a little bit of rat poison. Now, a little bit of rat poison isn't going to do much because a rat is only this big and we're this big. But if we're drinking it every day, it's going to have a cumulative effect and we're going to get sick. There is a wonderful quote from the book Dune by Frank Herbert. I'll read it to you. I must not fear. Fear is the mind killer. Fear is the little death that brings total obliteration. I will face my fear. I will permit it to pass over me and through me. And when it has gone past, I will turn the inner eye to see its path. Where the fear has gone, there will be nothing. Only I will remain. Crystal clear, powerful imaging. Fear is a mind killer. Fear is a little death. Fear brings total obliteration of the self. So let's do just a quick little exercise using something current, using this technique. Okay, one of the things that's been going on the last few months, gas prices just shooting way up, right? They're coming back down, but we're a world crisis away from them shooting back up again. So everybody imagine you're driving down to the gas station to fill up, and you look up at the sign and it says $8 a gallon. How do you feel? What are you going to think? $8 a gallon. My God, what's this world coming through? What can I do? $8. Ah! Okay. So look up at that sign. We're going to take a deep breath. And we're going to say, God's in charge here. I'm not. $8. I am in eternal time. Cosmic time. I'm a child of the universe. $8. Oh, $8 gonna pass over me. $8 is gonna pass through me. I'm a child of God. It's gonna be okay. $8. No judgment, no opinions. It's $8. Ah, the deer are eating my gladiolus. Okay. Standard Oil's taking all my money. Okay. Free. I'm free. That's God is all. Those of us with hair the same color as mine may remember back in the 1970s when the price of gas doubled almost overnight. And remember, that was when gas mileage was 12, 14 miles per gallon. 18 was like, whoa, you know, but you didn't worry about it because there was so much gas and it was so cheap, you never even thought about it, really. And those of us may remember when they were running out of gas, that expensive gas. Gas stations were closed. And if there was one open, there'd be 50 cars in line. And you could wait in line for an hour and get right up to the driveway and they'd come out and go, we're sold out. Sorry, no more gas. And then, so the government came up with an idea, let's ration it, odd and even days, depending on your license day. License plate ends in an odd number, you can buy gas on an odd day. Even number, you can buy gas on an even day, which stabilized things a little bit. But if you had to suddenly drive to LA and it wasn't your day, you were stuck because you have to gas up on the way, especially with that 14 miles a gallon, 18 miles a gallon. So, okay, inflation rate's been running 6-7% right now, roughly. And in 1980, do you know what the inflation rate was? 14%, double what it is right now. In 1981, if you wanted to buy a house, the mortgage rate was 18.4%. 18%. Okay, here's the point. This country, and if you study history, you can even Google the depressions of the last 100 years. It's very eye-opening. Every 10, 12, 14 years has had a big crash, a big bust, which is followed in 2 to 4 years generally by a big boom. Crash, boom, crash, boom. The country has survived just fine. The people have survived just fine. If you look at your own life, you've had some high highs, we've all had, and we've had some low lows, right? We've had some great booms and we've had the bubble burst. Lose a job, lose a relationship, lose a house, lose a friend, lose a loved one. We've all had that, and we've all had moments of great peace and wonderment, you know. When I'm at the beach at sunset, I forget about everything else and I just go, I'm glad to be alive. We've all survived. The country has survived, so we will survive in the future. Regardless of what the politicians do or don't do, we will survive. It'll be okay. Yeah, we may have to adjust our expectations at some point. Yes, we may not be able to jump in our car on a whim and just take off and go somewhere. We may have to plan our travels better. We might end up having to stack all of our trips and go out once a week. Yeah, prices across the board may go up, up, up. And yes, it might be a gift to really slow down and appreciate what we have, to be fully present where we are, to live more simply. Do you need more stuff? I don't. Does any of us need more stuff? You know, oh, Amazon, click. Oh, put that in my cart. Oh, click. Oh, we don't need it. We don't need it. And it's possible that these last few years of COVID might have just been a good rehearsal to prepare us to slow way down, to release our ideas that we have to have right now instant gratification, and set us up to appreciate how good we have it here in the United States. Right now, there are 820 million people in the world who don't have enough to eat today. Quarter of the people in the world don't have clean water. And we're going, oh, this shower feels so good. I think I'll stay in here a few minutes longer. Oh, yes. We take it for granted that we get this stuff out of the tap. We have it so good. You have it good. Let's all say, I have it so good. I have it so good. Yeah. Now, I have a sense that there's probably one of us here, or maybe several of us, who have some physical stuff going on that in our mind is not good. I got a little cancer biopsy here that I got to have taken off. That's not fun to think about. But we have these marvelous doctors who are going to go, yeah, we'll cut it out. It's not that serious. Don't worry. It's the good one. Okay, I won't worry. Whatever it is that you're going through, it'll be okay at the end of the day. And now, let's bring up the big enchilada, the biggest fear that so many people have right now. What if I get COVID, Ebola, avian, pox variant XYZ number 532 and I die? Well, I don't know about you, and I can't speak for you, but I'm gonna die someday. I know that. I'm not crazy. And I hope to do it with a little bit of grace, maybe. And are any of you an immortal? Are any of you vampires that are gonna live forever? No. Barbara is. Sooner or later, maybe we'll make it to 110. Sooner or later, we're all going to die. So what is the big deal? What are we so afraid of? Why do we waste so much of our energy? And here's the thing that I believe, and I know, and I've seen it over and over again. As we make sure that our back of house is well stocked with quality goods, we will meet our end with some grace and a little bit of dignity. And the quality goods in our back of house pantry are, of course, God thoughts, good thoughts, followed by God actions and good actions. And that's the law of karma. That's real. As you sow, so shall you reap. I've seen it over and over and over again. People who go through life being victims, whiners, martyrs, complaining, they have a hard time leaving. People who take responsibility for their life and their own mistakes and their own stuff and don't go around blaming or whining. Saddest words are from that movie, Marlon Brando. I could have been a contender. I could have been it. Well, I could have been, but I didn't, so I'm moving on, okay? So don't worry about it. I have a good sense of just about everyone whose faces I can see here. And for sure, I'm a champion whiner. Okay, I can throw a pity party with the best of them. At the same time, I try to take responsibility for my crap and go, "Ooh, I blew it." And most of all of you are the same way. I've seen you all. You're all good people. You all have good hearts, and you all want to make the world a little bit better place in spite of yourselves. And that's all the best we can do is to make things a little bit better. And all of you do that. All of you that I have experienced, you all do that. So don't worry about it. And there's a little poem I want to end up with by a guy named Jack Gilbert, who offers some insights about what's important to keep our back of house pantry well stocked with quality goods. And his insights may be shocking a little bit. They were to me. I had to digest it. It makes sense. It's called A Brief for the Defense. Sorrow everywhere. Slaughter everywhere. If babies are not starving someplace, they're starving somewhere else with flies in their nostrils. But we must enjoy our lives. That's what God wants. Otherwise, the mornings before summer dawn would not be made so fine. The Bengal tiger would not be fashioned so miraculously, marvelously well. The poor women at the fountain are laughing together between the suffering they've known and the awfulness in their future. Smiling and laughing while somebody in the village is very sick. There's laughter every day in the terrible streets of Calcutta. If we deny our happiness, if we resist our satisfaction, we lessen the importance of their deprivation. We must risk delight. We can do without pleasure, but not delight, not enjoyment. We must have the stubbornness to accept our gladness in the ruthless furnace of this world. To make injustice the only measure of our attention is to praise the devil. If the locomotive of the Lord runs us down, we should give thanks that the end had magnitude. We must admit that there will be music despite everything. We must admit that there will be music despite everything. We must admit that there will be music despite everything. Ah, what a marvelous teaching. We must risk delight, and we must be stubborn about it, stubborn with ourselves. To dwell on injustice and suffering is to praise the devil. Ooh. And if we're going to die, give thanks for this marvelous life and admit that despite everything, there will be music. Despite everything, there will be music. So let's have a little bit of music right now. And this is the song by Mr. Deerfeeder that I heard so many years ago. Oh, Spirit, sing in me, breath of God, dance in me. Let me be your song of love. Oh, Spirit, sing in me. Oh, Well, let's sing with spirit in the quiet of our minds and have just a little bit of meditation time. And let's just shut our eyes, take a deep breath, go into our inner temple, take another breath, just a centering breath, and another centering breath. We invite the Holy Spirit into our consciousness, the whole Spirit. On this third Sunday in Advent, the healing Spirit of love, the awakening Christ inside our heart and our minds and our soul. And we call upon this healing Spirit to be with us right now and infuse our heart, fill our being. We give thanks to Holy Spirit, to the Christed knowledge, to the Buddha, to Krishna, to Gaia, Mother Earth. We give thanks for allowing us to have healing thoughts, soothing thoughts, to realize that we can be blessed with creating our own reality in our mind, to let us see that we have a choice when we confront adversity. We have a choice to bang our head against the wall, and we have a choice to let it pass over us and through us and let it go. And in the stillness of this holy place, take a few quick moments and allow your memory to float back to a recent time or a long time ago, and bring up something or some things that filled you with delight, with enjoyment, with satisfaction, that made you feel good. Was it gardening or painting or dancing or writing or your pets or being with a friend or a loved one or holding a baby or being in nature or listening to music? Just bring up some things that you have done that made you feel really good. Just list a couple of things. Mm. 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 Yeah. We've all had these wonderful moments, and it's imperative that we thank the holy source of life, whatever that means to you. We acknowledge and give thanks that we've had these moments in our past. But these have been building blocks of who we are today. And we're going to take about a minute now and plan some of our future. And visualize what you're going to do going forward that delights you, that makes you feel good. And even if you cannot do what you used to do, the way that you used to do it, allow God consciousness to give you a divine idea of what you can do and how you can do it. What can you realistically do that will bring you some light from outside yourself and inside yourself? What can you do that will awaken this Christed love inside of you, this feeling of enjoyment? Oh, yes. Oh, yes. There's so much we can do. Even if it's just looking out the window and appreciating the day, giving thanks. And we have been given the opportunity in this incarnation to accept the fact that maybe we're not trying to glow Gladiolus. Maybe we're surrendering and feeding the deer. And for the privilege of being in unity, for the privilege of being together today, for the blessing of music. We say, thank you, God, and we say, oh, Spirit, sing in me. Oh, Spirit, sing in me. Amen. Amen. Barbara?
Barbara. Okay, well, wow. Thank you, David. Thank you. Thank you. Hey, Bill. It would delight me if you could sing some Christmas for us, some music.
Okay.
Okay.
Yeah. Here's one that's fairly new to me, but I'm liking it. It's called Do You See What I See? Said the night wind to the little lamb, do you see what I see? Way up in the sky, little lamb, do you see what I see? A star down dancing in the night with a tail as big as a kite, with a tail as big as a kite. Said the little lamb to the shepherd boy, do you hear what I hear? Ringing through the sky, shepherd boy, do you hear what I hear? A song, high above the trees, with a voice as big as the sea, with a voice as big as the sea. Said the shepherd boy to the mighty king, do you know what I know? In your palace, one mighty king, do you know what I know? A child shivers in the cold. Let us bring him silver and gold. Let us bring him silver and gold. Said the king to the people everywhere, listen to what I say. Pray for peace, people everywhere. Listen to what I say. The child, sleeping in the night, he will bring us goodness and light. He will bring us goodness and light.